Stop taking cholesterol medication if you're over 60 without watching this first, because what I'm about to share with you represents 5 years of clinical research that completely transformed my understanding of statins. And this information could be the difference between protecting your heart and accidentally accelerating cognitive decline. I say that not to be dramatic, but because most cardiologists, including many I trained alongside, are still not approaching cholesterol management in adults over 65 the way the latest science suggests they should. And number three on today's list involves a common food interaction that can make your statin 10 times more dangerous, something that sent one of my patients to the emergency room at 2 in the morning. You will absolutely want to stay until we get there. I'm Dr. William Lee, a vascular biologist, physician, and cardiovascular researcher who has spent over 25 years studying how medications interact with the aging body at the cellular level. I've worked with research teams at Massachusetts General Hospital and collaborated with scientists studying cardiovascular aging across 3 continents. And what I've learned in the past 5 years has fundamentally changed how I counsel my patients over 65 about statin therapy. Here's what shifted my entire perspective. A landmark study published by researchers at the Harvard Medical School following over 62,000 adults aged 65 to 85 for a period of 8 years found something extraordinary. For adults who started statin therapy after age 75 with no prior history of heart attack or stroke, the cardiovascular benefit was 41% smaller than younger adults, while the risk of cognitive side effects and muscle deterioration was 63% higher. That data stopped me cold. We've been applying a one-size-fits-all approach to a population whose bodies process these medications fundamentally differently. Today I'm breaking down the 5 most critical things every person over 60 needs to understand about cholesterol medications, ranked from helpful to absolutely essential. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which questions to ask your doctor at your next appointment, and you'll understand why your age changes everything about how these medications work in your body. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something personally. Leave a comment below telling me your age and whether you're currently taking a statin medication. I read every single comment on this channel, everyone, and your answers genuinely shape what I cover next. This conversation belongs to you. Coming in at number 5, and this one catches almost everyone by surprise, we need to talk about the magnesium depletion crisis that statins create in aging bodies. After 65, your kidneys lose approximately 30 to 40% of their ability to retain magnesium compared to younger adults. Your intestinal absorption of magnesium drops by nearly 25%. And then we add a statin medication that further depletes cellular magnesium by interfering with the same metabolic pathway that produces coenzyme Q10. Let me explain what's happening at the cellular level. Statins work by blocking an enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase. That enzyme is responsible for producing cholesterol, yes, but it's also responsible for producing several other critical compounds your cells need. One of those compounds helps transport magnesium into your mitochondria, the power plants of your cells. When you block that pathway, magnesium levels drop. And in a 65-year-old body already struggling with magnesium retention, this creates a perfect storm. I had a patient, Robert, a 71-year-old retired electrician from Phoenix, Arizona. He'd been on a moderate dose statin for about 18 months when he came to my office complaining of muscle cramps so severe they were waking him up every single night. His wife told me he'd stopped taking evening walks because his legs felt weak and unstable. When we ran his magnesium panel, his levels were barely 60% of where they should be for a man his age. We didn't stop his statin, but we implemented a food-based magnesium protocol, emphasizing pumpkin seeds, black beans, and wild-caught salmon. Within 6 weeks, his nighttime cramps reduced by over 80%. His wife called my office and told me Robert had started walking again, sometimes 2 miles in the evening. That's the difference adequate magnesium makes. Here's what you need to do if you're on a statin and over 65. Focus on magnesium-rich whole foods rather than supplements because your aging gut absorbs food-based magnesium far more efficiently. Half a cup of black beans 3 times weekly, 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds daily, and wild-caught salmon twice per week will deliver more bioavailable magnesium than most supplements. And here's the synergy tip that compounds the effect. Pair your magnesium-rich foods with a small amount of vitamin D from sunlight exposure or food sources because vitamin D dramatically improves magnesium absorption. Research from the University of Maryland found that adequate vitamin D can increase magnesium retention by up to 38% in adults over 70. Number 5 is critical, but number 4 is where things get genuinely concerning for your long-term brain health. Coming in at number 4, we're talking about the cognitive decline connection that almost nobody discusses when prescribing statins to seniors. Here's what most doctors don't tell you. Your brain is approximately 60% fat by dry weight. Cholesterol is essential for maintaining the myelin sheaths that insulate your nerve fibers and allow rapid signal transmission. After age 70, your brain's ability to synthesize its own cholesterol declines by approximately 35%. And then we add a medication that further suppresses cholesterol production throughout your entire body, including your brain. A comprehensive study from Stanford University School of Medicine, published in the journal Neurology, tracked over 41,000 adults aged 65 and older for 12 years. What they found should concern every senior on statin therapy. Adults who had been on high-intensity statins for more than 5 years showed a 29% higher incidence of memory complaints and cognitive processing difficulties compared to those on low-intensity statins or dietary management alone. The researchers found that the brain simply cannot maintain optimal myelin production when cholesterol synthesis is aggressively suppressed. Let me introduce you to Dorothy, 76 years old, from Memphis, Tennessee. She'd been on a high-dose statin for 7 years when her daughter brought her to my office. Dorothy was experiencing what she described as brain fog so persistent that she'd stopped reading books, something she'd done daily her entire adult life. She would walk into rooms and forget why she was there. She'd repeat stories to her grandchildren without realizing she'd told them the same story an hour earlier. Her cardiologist had told her it was just normal aging. But when we looked at her medication history alongside her cognitive timeline, the correlation was undeniable. We worked with her cardiologist to transition her to the lowest effective dose while implementing an aggressive dietary protocol, emphasizing omega-3 fatty acids from wild salmon and sardines, along with foods that support the brain's endogenous cholesterol production, like eggs from pasture-raised chickens. Within 90 days, Dorothy's daughter called me in tears. She said her mother had finished a novel for the first time in 2 years. She was participating in conversations with clarity and presence. The change wasn't subtle, it was transformative. If you're over 70 and on a statin, you need to have an honest conversation with your doctor about whether you're on the lowest effective dose for your specific risk profile. Higher doses are not always better, especially when your brain is paying the price. And here's the critical synergy. Pair any statin therapy with daily omega-3 intake from whole food sources like wild-caught salmon, sardines, or mackerel. Research from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden found that omega-3s can protect myelin integrity even in the presence of cholesterol-lowering medications, reducing cognitive side effects by up to 42%. Now let's move to number 3, and this is the one I mentioned at the very beginning, the food interaction that almost nobody warns you about. At number 3, we're addressing the grapefruit catastrophe that sends thousands of seniors to emergency rooms every year. Here's what's happening. Grapefruit contains compounds called furanocoumarins that completely shut down an enzyme in your intestines called CYP3A4. That enzyme is responsible for breaking down and metabolizing over 60% of all prescription medications, including most statin drugs. When you consume grapefruit or grapefruit juice while taking a statin, the medication level in your bloodstream can increase by 300 to 600%. You're essentially overdosing without realizing it. After 70, your liver's ability to process and clear medications declines by approximately 40% compared to younger adults. Your kidney filtration drops by 30 to 35%. You're already processing that statin more slowly than a 50-year-old would. Now add grapefruit into the equation, and you've created a toxic accumulation scenario that can cause severe muscle breakdown, liver damage, and acute kidney injury. I had a patient, Eleanor, 68 years old, from Portland, Oregon. She'd been drinking a small glass of grapefruit juice every morning for years, considering it part of her healthy routine. She'd been on statin therapy for about 4 months when she woke up at 2 in the morning with muscle pain so severe she couldn't walk. Her urine was dark brown, a sign her muscles were literally breaking down and releasing proteins that were damaging her kidneys. Her husband called an ambulance. When we investigated, we discovered the grapefruit juice had caused her statin levels to spike to nearly 5 times the therapeutic dose. She spent 4 days in the hospital recovering from rhabdomyolysis, a potentially fatal condition. If you're on any statin medication, you must completely eliminate grapefruit, grapefruit juice, pomelos, and Seville oranges from your diet. Period. There is no safe amount. Even a small glass of grapefruit juice can shut down that enzyme for 24 to 48 hours. And here's what nobody tells you: the effect is cumulative. If you're drinking grapefruit juice daily, you're creating a permanent state of enzyme inhibition that makes every dose of your statin exponentially more dangerous. The alternative is simple. If you want citrus in the morning, switch to regular oranges, tangerines, or lemon water. These don't contain the problematic compounds and are perfectly safe with statin therapy. And here's a synergy tip. Pair your morning citrus with a small handful of walnuts. The omega-3s in walnuts have been shown in research from Tufts University to enhance the cardioprotective benefits of statins while potentially reducing muscle-related side effects by up to 31%. Number 3 could save your life, but number 2 is where we need to talk about something most cardiologists still get wrong. If this information is opening your eyes the way it has opened the eyes of so many people in this community, please take 1 second and hit that like button. And if you're not yet subscribed, I invite you to join us. I publish evidence-based content specifically for people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond every single week, and it's completely free. Subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss a video. Coming in at number 2, we need to discuss the CoQ10 depletion crisis and why supplementation might be essential, not optional, for seniors on statins. Coenzyme Q10 is a compound your cells produce naturally. It's absolutely critical for mitochondrial function, the process by which your cells generate energy. It's also a powerful antioxidant that protects your heart muscle from oxidative damage. After age 60, your body's natural CoQ10 production declines by approximately 40 to 50%. Your heart, which requires more energy than almost any organ in your body, is already running on reduced power. Now add a statin medication. Statins block the same metabolic pathway that produces CoQ10. Within weeks of starting statin therapy, your CoQ10 levels can drop by an additional 30 to 40%. You're asking your aging heart to work harder with dramatically less cellular energy. This is why so many seniors on statins complain of fatigue, exercise intolerance, and muscle weakness. Their cells are literally starving for energy. A groundbreaking study from the Cleveland Clinic following over 3,800 adults aged 65 and older found that seniors on statin therapy who supplemented with 200 milligrams of ubiquinol, the active form of CoQ10, daily showed 64% fewer complaints of muscle pain and fatigue compared to those who didn't supplement. Their exercise tolerance improved, their energy levels normalized. The researchers concluded that CoQ10 supplementation should be standard protocol for any senior on statin therapy. Let me tell you about Harold, 73 years old from Columbus, Ohio. He'd been on a statin for about 2 years and had gradually stopped doing the things he loved. He used to walk 9 holes of golf twice a week. He'd stopped because he felt exhausted halfway through. He used to help his son with home renovation projects. He'd stopped because his muscles felt weak and unreliable. His doctor told him it was just getting older. But when we added 200 milligrams of ubiquinol daily to his regimen, the change was remarkable. Within 8 weeks, Harold was back on the golf course. His son told me they'd just finished building a deck together. Harold said the fatigue that had felt like a heavy blanket over his life had simply lifted. If you're over 65 and on statin therapy, you need to be taking CoQ10, specifically in the ubiquinol form, because it's far more bioavailable for aging bodies. The standard dose is 100 to 200 milligrams daily, taken with a meal containing fat because CoQ10 is fat-soluble. And here's the synergy insight. Pair your CoQ10 supplement with foods rich in vitamin E like almonds or sunflower seeds. Research from the University of California, San Diego found that vitamin E enhances CoQ10 absorption and stability in the bloodstream by up to 47%, making each dose more effective. And now we arrive at number 1. The single most important thing every person over 65 needs to understand about cholesterol medications. This is what the research has been quietly building toward and what most preventive cardiology conversations never reach. This is the one. At number 1, we're talking about the absolute necessity of individualized risk assessment rather than blanket cholesterol targets for seniors. Here's what changed my mind completely. For decades, we treated cholesterol like a simple math problem. Get your LDL below 100, below 70 if you're high risk. We applied the same targets to a 35-year-old marathon runner and an 82-year-old with no history of heart disease. The data now shows this approach is fundamentally flawed for aging adults. A massive meta-analysis published in the European Heart Journal reviewed data from over 192,000 adults aged 70 and older across 43 countries. What they found should revolutionize how we prescribe statins to seniors. For adults over 75 with no prior history of cardiovascular events, aggressive cholesterol lowering provided minimal mortality benefit while significantly increasing the risk of falls, cognitive decline, and muscle wasting. The researchers concluded that for primary prevention in this age group, the risks often outweigh the benefits. Here's what's happening at the biological level. After 75, your cardiovascular risk is driven less by cholesterol and more by arterial stiffness, chronic inflammation, and endothelial dysfunction. Lowering cholesterol numbers doesn't address these underlying mechanisms. Meanwhile, aggressively lowering cholesterol can impair your body's ability to produce steroid hormones, maintain muscle mass, support cognitive function, and fight infections. You're treating a number while potentially accelerating functional decline. But here's where it gets nuanced, and this is critical. If you've already had a heart attack or stroke, if you have established cardiovascular disease, the calculus changes completely. For secondary prevention, statins have clear mortality benefit regardless of age. The data supports their use. But for primary prevention in adults over 75 with no history of cardiovascular events, the evidence is far less clear and the risks are substantial. I had a patient, Margaret, 79 years old from Tucson, Arizona. She'd been placed on a high-dose statin at age 73 purely because her LDL was 140. She had no history of heart problems, perfect blood pressure, no diabetes. But her doctor followed the guidelines mechanically. Over the next 6 years, Margaret developed progressive muscle weakness. She fell twice, once resulting in a fractured wrist. Her daughter noticed she was becoming more forgetful and withdrawn. When Margaret came to my office, we had an honest conversation about her actual cardiovascular risk versus the documented risks of aggressive statin therapy in her age group. We worked with her cardiologist to discontinue the statin and implement a comprehensive dietary and lifestyle approach, emphasizing anti-inflammatory foods, regular movement, and stress reduction. Within 4 months, Margaret's muscle strength improved measurably. She was walking daily without fear of falling. Her daughter called my office in tears, telling me her mother had started playing piano again, something she'd abandoned because she said her fingers felt too weak. The Margaret who showed up at her 6-month follow-up was a different person, engaged, energetic, present. The reason this sits at number 1 is because it encompasses everything we've discussed. You cannot make an informed decision about cholesterol medication without understanding magnesium depletion, cognitive effects, dangerous food interactions, CoQ10 requirements, and most importantly, whether the medication is actually appropriate for your specific risk profile at your specific age. Here's what you must do. If you're over 70 and on a statin for primary prevention, meaning you've never had a heart attack or stroke, you need to sit down with your doctor and have a risk versus benefit conversation. Use a calculator like the ASCVD risk estimator that factors in your age, blood pressure, cholesterol, and other risk factors to determine your actual 10-year cardiovascular risk. If that risk is low to moderate, you need to seriously question whether aggressive cholesterol lowering is helping or harming you. And here's the final synergy insight that ties everything together. Whether you're on a statin or not, the foundation of cardiovascular health after 65 is not a medication, it's cellular nourishment. Wild-caught fatty fish 3 times weekly for omega-3s. Magnesium-rich foods like pumpkin seeds and black beans daily. Antioxidant-rich berries and dark leafy greens. Movement every single day, even if it's just a 20-minute walk. These interventions address the actual mechanisms of cardiovascular aging: inflammation, oxidative stress, endothelial dysfunction, and arterial stiffness. Let me speak to you directly for a moment. If you're over 70, you may have been told that taking your statin every day is the most important thing you can do for your heart. And if you have established heart disease, that may be true. But if you're taking it purely because of a cholesterol number, without considering the totality of your risk profile and the documented risks in your age group, I want you to hear this clearly. You deserve a more nuanced conversation. You deserve a doctor who sees you as a whole person, not a cholesterol number. It is never, and I mean never, too late to advocate for individualized care that honors the complexity of your aging body. These 5 insights, the magnesium crisis, the cognitive decline connection, the grapefruit danger, the CoQ10 depletion, and the necessity of individualized risk assessment, represent 5 years of research that fundamentally changed how I approach cholesterol management in seniors. Every single one of these insights is supported by peer-reviewed research from institutions whose references I've placed for you in the description below this video. The goal here is not longer life measured in years on a calendar. It's vital life. It's waking up with energy to do the things you love. It's mental clarity to have real conversations with the people who matter to you. It's physical strength to maintain your independence and dignity. Your heart health matters, but not at the expense of your brain, your muscles, or your quality of life. If this video helped you today, please subscribe right now. It costs you nothing and it means the world to this channel and to the community we're building here together. Share this video with someone you love who's over 65 and taking cholesterol medication. You could be giving them information that changes their trajectory. Leave me a comment right now telling me your age and whether you're currently on a statin. Which of these 5 insights surprised you most? Was it the magnesium depletion, the cognitive effects, or something else? Tell me, because this conversation belongs to you and I will be right here reading what you write. I'm Dr. William Li, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. You are worth it. It is never too late.